Let's see that. Waiting for.
Let me try again. See if I can grab this link and copy it in there.
All right, there's some time lag. Hey, thanks for joining us today. While we are waiting for more people to arrive, please share in the chat. There's some time lag. In one word, how would you describe your day today? My day can be best described by one word: curiosity. I'm really glad to welcome Jerry Cohen to the Product Tank Bellevue community, and I'm curious to explore ChatGPT prompt engineering, specifically tailored for product managers. And Jerry, I think you need to unmute yourself.
Yeah, there we go. Hi.
Yeah. Hey, Jerry, as we wait for others to join, I have a quick question that I'd like to ask you. What is the worst career advice you have received?
Well, I used to watch a lot of action movies when I was a kid, and my dad said that because all these people always get like lethal weapon and stuff, that I should be a mortician, but I don't think that's what you mean. Like I think he was joking. You know what's funny is I realize like the best and worst might be the same thing. And somebody, a business school professor said, don't be a butterfly, like flutter from one thing to the next. And I think he was right for a while because I worked in venture and then I worked in I went back to tech and dabbled in real estate. But the fact that I dabbled and fluttered is why I'm a product manager now, because like I worked in tech, I worked in customer facing roles, I worked in venture. So I think about strategically. I never would have done that if I didn't flutter. So, but I can understand. Sometimes I do wish I was just like, wow, it'd be great to be just an amazing data scientist or AI engineer. But I'm not. I'm a product manager.
Mm. Thank you for sharing that with
Yeah.
us. Yeah, so why don't we just jump into our topic today? So, hi everyone, I'm Stephen Wang, your host at Product Tech Bellevue. Our meetups brings together product leaders and experts about every 6 weeks. For virtual events, I also organize in-person happy hours in the Seattle area. Welcome you to join if you are around. Uh, I'm excited to host Jerry today, and we're going to dive into the world of AI and ChatGPT. Jerry is a master at turning innovative ideas into groundbreaking products. With a rich background in prop tech and fintech, Jerry excels in leading product discovery and empowering teams. Currently, he's focused on shaping the future of AI powered products. And Jerry, please take over from here.
Okay. Yep. You accepted my screen share, right? There it is. All right. Thank you, Stephen. Thanks, everybody, for joining today. So let me just get resituated. So again, hi, I'm Jerry Cohen. Thanks for joining. This is a new format for me with this webinar approach. I'm usually used to seeing all your faces. So please, if you have questions, drop in the comments, and Stephen will try to alert me if you guys are having trouble. This session is meant to be interactive. So I just want to say thank you for being here and taking an hour to dedicate to yourself and the product community. You could be doing anything today, and you chose to be here with us. I am going to start by get this out of the way, the plug for myself. So follow me on LinkedIn. By the way, I would put my email address, but this is going to be like saved permanently on YouTube, so I'm not going to hand out my phone number and personal email. So just DM me on LinkedIn if you want to chat. I'm happy to chat about anything we talk about today. Personal plug, I am open to work and interviewing. So Shreyas Doshi would classify me probably as a craftsperson style product person. So I'm looking for a principal PM role, vertical SaaS companies, growth stage, endeavoring to transform professional workflows with generative AI. So like I mentioned briefly, these sessions started out as informal office hours and lunch and learns. We still do them sometimes. So feel free to fill out this form. It's just to give me your email address and I'll email you the next time we do them. And one last plug. So myself and a few other folks built a product called mycareerchat.ai. It's 100% AI powered interview coach and practice bot. And if you click through there and sign up, you can't sign up today, but you can request us to invite you to the beta. But we will be live soon. So importantly, this doc is accessible. There's a Bitly link, which I believe Stephen has already shared, or you could scan this QR code, or it is this Bitly/Bellevue prompt eng. Bitly links are case sensitive, so you'll need the capital B, P, and E. I'm starting to see folks join, so that is good, the doc. Okay, what else? Let's give you folks a couple seconds to start clicking on that link. Once you do get in the link, there is a quick survey. I think it's just helpful since we all can't see each other, maybe just to get a feel for who's in the room and maybe some of the AI tools you're using today. So there's a quick 4-question survey. It should be super quick. Are you a frequent user of ChatGPT? Yes, I'm a paid user, or free user, or no. What kind of traditional hat do you wear? And also sort of curious if you've made API calls to use an AI model or not. And then other than ChatGPT, what AI tools do you use on a regular basis? So instead of me plugging, I don't want to be biased. I have plenty of friends who have their own AI powered products. So instead of plugging any one of them, because that wouldn't be fair to everybody else, this is your opportunity to share what you all and of course are using, and of course everyone will get to see that. So when you get a chance, fill out that survey. I'll wait a little bit and come back to it later, or remind me at some point. So again, if you just joined, because I know folks could have joined a few minutes late, you can access this doc and follow along. And the point of this doc is so you can move at your own pace. So this hour is for you and our community to learn. Whatever your level at is perfect. Okay, so I want to leverage a metaphor. So by the way, so we're going to get started on the course, the seminar. So intro to prompt engineering, whatever level you're at is perfect. If you want to learn more, deep learning, at least I give you a couple of courses to try today. Deeplearning.ai is a bunch of great short courses. Click this link to go to one. So I want to leverage a metaphor that I heard Marty Kagan use actually at another Product Tank event. He had this concept of like product managers and product teams live on like 2 completely different planets. He's mentioned like the empowered product team planet and then the feature team planet. And I don't want to go into like, why he defined it that way, but it was like, they're like, you're this an echo chamber and you don't even see how other folks on the other planet live. And I've started to see that happen candidly with AI. Like there's the AI is cool planet has gotten really much larger. A lot of people have used AI products now. And a lot of us product managers aren't really living and breathing data science and AI every day. So we're like on this planet where we know it's cool, we know it's next, we know what's happening. And then there's all these other PMs who are literally building products every day, or they're data scientists, and they're not talking to each other. So that's actually why I started doing these talks, is because I wanted us to talk to each other. Because if we're really going to, change the world here, we need to learn from each other. And for those of folks on planet AI, I'm telling you, the folks on the other planet, like they're unstoppable. They're learning. They don't care how things are really supposed to work or why you can't do this with that model. They're out there kicking butt and learning from their customers and iterating. So watch out. It's just another technology we can apply to solve customer problems. So let's work together to do it. So you don't have to be technical to start doing wonders with AI and AI powered tools. If you've ever used a spreadsheet to sum cells, like equals sum this column or these cells, or used merge fields in an email or like CRM tool, you are technical enough to go build some pretty powerful stuff today. Um, so this doc is designed to skip ahead if you want. If you're pretty good at prompting, skip to the bottom. If you've ever used an API before and you've always wanted to, use this hour to go sign up for a developer account with OpenAI. If you want to train your first model, scroll all the way to the bottom. There's a link to Fast AI's course. You could literally train your first image classifier model in the time of this course. In this seminar, in this hour. So just move ahead, move fast, do what you want, for those who are super advanced, listen to what your friends in community need. It's time to help each other. Okay, so let's get started. So there's an important distinction I want to make. That a lot of us, there's AI models, but a lot of us really use day-to-day products that use AI models. So I always, as product managers, we want to think about that. I mean, of course, to some of us, it's obvious, like when you use a web application, okay, well, there's some database it's interacting with and some logic that's happening. Well, let's apply that same level of thinking to AI-powered products. There's some model that's here, and I'm not actually interacting directly with that model. And I just want you guys to have that lens because, it's really easy to think that like you're prompting some model and you're getting a response, but really you're interacting with some UI with application layer that's making decisions, and those decisions are interacting with a model. I just want you to have that sort of lens whenever you're interacting with whatever it is, Bard or ChatGPT. Because just simple example, if you upload an image, that application's going, is this a supported file format? But it's doing more than that. It's doing, okay, well, since the user uploaded an image, let's take them down this series of prompts. If they type something else into the input box, we're going to take them down this series of prompts. So it's not just all magic. Decisions are being made, and this application layer and what decisions are being made in building a product, like that's our job as product managers. There's still a lot of work for us to do. And I'm not also be inclusive of the whole product, trifecta of UX and engineering. We're still going to make decisions for our users, and it's not just going to be, it's not magic, right? That's the point of this. Let's get behind the curtains before the Wizard of Oz. Okay, so Stephen, by the way, actually, it's kind of hard for me to see the comments. So please, if someone really is having trouble doing something, just please speak up. Okay, let's keep moving. So I want you to think. So today's a lot going to be on large language models like ChatGPT. Some folks use the metaphor of an intern, but I prefer a puppy because an intern's way smarter than a large language model. So think of it as a puppy that loves you and just wants to please you. And by the way, a lot of these images are AI generated images from a tool called Midjourney. Some of you may have heard of. In fact, that reminds me, I don't want to forget to do this, but I scrolled up to the bottom. There we go. If you've never seen Midjourney, it's actually embedded. It's the user interface is Discord, but I'm going to create an image right now. Let's say product manager learning how to use AI. Okay. It's going to spin me up an image, but while it's doing that, you can see other images being created by folks. That's the cool thing about Midjourney. Midjourney is really busy in the evening, so I'm just going to leave this. It's going to take too long. Okay, so back to the puppy metaphor. So again, it's a puppy that wants to please you. So we need to balance between freedom and specificity. So when you're prompting a model like ChatGPT, if you give it too much freedom, God knows what it's going to come up with. If you give it too much control, it's probably going to give you either a not very terribly great result, or you're probably just working too hard and you could have just did the thing yourself. So the balance is getting just right, because most folks give it too much freedom, and that's what today is really about, is like how to give it enough context to give you great responses. But I'm just warning you to not go too far in the other direction, and you can start to observe the outputs you're getting because you're just giving it way too much instruction. Okay, I always say these in every one of these talks. There's two things to watch out for. I know folks on Planet AI are going to say these are controversial, but these are just generalizations, okay? There are ways to get around these things. But one, don't trust the information. You've probably heard of hallucinations. There are ways to get around hallucinations, but you just don't trust the facts. That's not what LLMs are for. They're really they're really trained to communicate with, not necessarily trained because of the facts they were trained on, even though the fact that there was real information they were trained on. They were done so to, the general purpose large language models were done so to be better at communicating, not to produce those facts. If you're curious about learning out ways to produce information accurately with a large language model, go research retrieval augmented generation. You might heard the term RAG. It's becoming very popular. And you can click that link, which is when I demoed one. And then the other two, again, I'm talking specifically large language models, don't have them do math. You know, you see a lot of papers and stuff, oh, they're getting better. A model should never, ever get, I mean, an algorithm should never get math wrong. Don't ever use a large language model to use math. They're so terribly bad. If you click that link, I'm asking it to count the characters in the sentence, and you can see there are 163 characters. That's not right. Tries again. It's just completely wrong. Okay, I mean, just basic counting it can't do. And I wrote a whole blog post about that because people are curious why. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but you may have seen this, but you can leverage large language models to do math because they're great with language. So you could think like word problems, like, hey, maybe I can get my large language model to interpret a word problem and produce math, an algebraic expression. That's something it can possibly help you with, you know, and you can get it to write code for you. You can do all these things. Very popular. I have it write code for me. I'm just not asking it to do the calculation. Okay, so like products like GPT-4, and again, I say products because there's an experience when you're interacting with ChatGPT-4 where it's automatically loads this code interpreter and calculates the result, and that's what this is showing you here. I ask it to calculate this expression, and the model does convert it and then says, oh wait, this is math, let me just write Python code and then produce the result. Okay, so the large language model wrote code, it didn't actually make the calculation. So why is this relevant? Because if you ask it to do things like write me 8 sentences of 12 words each, it's not something it's going to do very well. It could approximate that. When you say 8 sentences, it goes, oh well, it should be pretty short. It can do those things, but it's not going to follow your instructions properly. And again, like I mentioned earlier, that's also probably giving it too much control. The dog metaphor, the dog on a leash. You don't want to say things like write exactly 8 sentences of 10 words each. It's going to be wrong, and you're just controlling it too much. Okay. Here we go. Again, for folks who joined late, there is a URL in the chat to go right to this doc. You can scroll down ahead to some of the exercises if the things I'm saying to you, you know already. So prompting 101, I say these in all these talks, there's really only 2 things we want to do. There's only 2 things you have to do to prompt, to be competent at prompting. 1, tell it what you want to do, and 2, give it the most important context. That's it. So this talk is not going to be about giving you a bunch of prompt templates. Go scroll down your LinkedIn feed if you want a bunch of prompt templates. You know, this is teach you to fish, not give you fish. So tell it what you want to do and give it the most important context. The devil's in the details, but if you just think about it that way, maybe I'm not telling it what to do, and maybe I'm not giving it enough context, or maybe I'm giving it too much of these. That's where you find it just right. Okay, so we're product managers. It's supposed to be practical. I'm going to get at this. Is the lecture part of this is ending soon, I promise. So good prompts can quickly eliminate 80% of effort in many tasks. And I'm using that word tasks because I'm actually talking about the daily things we do in our lives, like listen to or read call transcripts from user research or sales calls or read product reviews or respond to emails. These are things, tasks we do. So like, I mean, you might have tried this, but like write me a product strategy, blah, blah, blah about this. Like that is not a task. That is a product strategy is an outcome of a lot of work, you know, of reading hundreds of product reviews and or product feedback and saying, you know, what kind of needs am I not addressing? Or who's my market? All those little tasks, months of work. Each one of those, you should ask yourself, how can I, in a practical way, use AI to make this better or faster for myself? That's how you make yourself efficient. So, like, yeah, a task would be analyze the below transcript of a user interview, or a product review, or things like that, or sales calls. There's a lot of other examples, and drop them in the chat if you can think of others that you might want to have AI automate for you or some way make you more efficient. And I want to be clear here that, again, like this is when I say 80% of efforts and in prompting 101, what I'm showing you here is like a roadmap to being practical and functional, to get work done that we just don't have time as PMs. So like, I'm going to give an example later of the Wise camera and product reviews. I mean, there's like 80,000 product reviews on Amazon for like what humans reading all that. Even if you had 500 product reviews as a PM, you just don't have time. But if AI can flag for the 20 or 100 for you to go read because they're relevant to what you manage as a product manager, that's really productive. And if it misses some, who cares? It's very different than, you're not asking it to identify cancer, you're just asking it to save you time. So you really need to think about what you're optimizing for. And if you are the human that you're optimizing it for, you need a lower quality bar than some of these other applications of AI. So let's just find practical applications, and that's what I'm going to show you today. Okay, so we're going to jump right into like actual prompt engineering. So summarization, this is a very simple example, okay? Many of you may have tried this. Like you could literally say, again, tell it what you do and give it the most important context. So if you're asking it to summarize a blog post, this is a simple example for explanation. You'd literally say summarize this blog post and copy paste the blog post in there. I'm sure you folks, if you've done this kind of things before, many of you have done it, but this is a path to the way to it. I'm not even gonna click on this one, but I'm just trying to show an example. You can supply that context. And oh, by the way, like retrieval augmented generation, that term, that's just doing this programmatically. Like go find the relevant context, like summarize this blog post or take key takeaways from this blog post. And your application is just going and looking up the correct content automatically and inserting it into the prompt. That's all RAG is. So I'm going to just pass that one. We're going to start getting into them for real here now. Okay. Did I? Probably. Yeah. Sorry. Okay, you may have done things like this. Draft an email. Let me close that one. Write me an email introducing my product manager friend to my former boss. I work at Appfolio, blah, 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 blah. Okay, there's another simple example. You guys have probably done stuff like this. And then it writes you an email. Way too long. Iterate on your prompts. I know Jennifer very well. The email should be brief and the tone of the email should be casual and friendly. Iterate on, get better. So one of the things that ChatGPT sort of trained us to do is to get in this chatbot conversation. But if we're trying to do work at scale, that's really inefficient. You don't want to have to like start an email and then refine. If you're trying to do that for 20 users, like you probably want to get your prompt right and then go do it once 20 times instead of refining each one. And so that's 10 times as much work. You're going to do 200 interactions to write your 20 user emails. So you want to iterate on your prompt. This is just a very simple example. And you'll notice here in my second example, I clarified, I know this person well, and the tone should be casual and friendly. These are simple. So if you're curious, I'm going to let you, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them, but they're there. That's why they're there for you to click on. I'm actually, I didn't come up with this idea, but I'm going to start doing it. So I read to my daughter every night. So I'm going to start writing my own AI generated novels because I'm running out of good ones that I can find, on Amazon. It's like sometimes I feel like it takes longer to go find one. I could just use AI to generate this myself. Similarly to Midjourney, like I don't use clip art or stock photos anymore. It's faster for me just to generate it myself. So another way to use AI is in that fashion. Like, why search for things when I could just generate them myself? So I put this in here as an example because I know there's usually some folks who join who sort of questions about the differences between different models. So this is just there. This is there for that purpose. Today's talk isn't really to compare models. I just wanted to show you that there are clearly differences in what they're good at. So and most of what I'll show later today is all GPT 3.5, which, isn't a best of breed model. It's very good. And there's other models competitive with it. And what I'm going to show you is for practical applications. So in other words, you could run your own open source model that might be as good as GPT 3.5 or close enough, but you can do a lot of really useful work if you want to go build your own or run your own open source model. Excuse me, I didn't mean to say build your own. I meant run one. But I just wanted to compare, look at GPT for this Wreck Me a Children's story about a monster in the closet. Once upon a time in a small cozy house on Maple Street. It's kind of like, well, that's pretty generic. And then you can compare it like GPT-4. Once upon a time in a small sleepy town named Caramel Valley, there was a 7-year-old boy named Billy. Billy had a big, vivid imagination. You could tell that there's somewhat of an improvement in the language it's using. One thing I love about Claude, look at this. It was way past bedtime, but Joey lay awake, eyes wide, staring at I mean, it's great for producing illustrative content language. That's one thing it does really well. So I might use Claude when I build my novel writer. And then here's Bard. Again, peeling back the wizard behind the curtains. Once upon a time in a cozy little house lived a young girl named Lily. I'd say that text is about on par with GPT 3.5. And then it's inserting images into that's something else as a product it's choosing to do. Oh, like it recognized that you're having me do creative writing for a child. Maybe I should automatically add images to that story. Okay, so this is my signal to pause for questions and read the comments and time check. So we're going to do a lot more in the next half hour. So please feel free to jump in with your questions if you have any. Okay. Question around the impact of AI in terms of organizations having jumped on the AI bandwagon. I talked to a lot of folks. That's a pretty broad. I mean, I couldn't give you that. The survey results, but I can tell you that it's at boardroom level conversations at every company of friends I've talked to that they're either behind or need to get on it, or they're already working on up leveling themselves. Now, whether they're doing that well, that's a topic for someone else to discuss. Can we create icons with this? I'm not sure which program you're referring to, but most of these models, these what they call diffusion models, they are creating JPEGs or bitmap style images. They are not vector images like you might need for an icon. But what you could do is generate this like this. This is somebody else created these, right? Like, would you can imagine? Oh, you could use that guy's head and then take how the graphic designer convert that to vector art if you need to. So you could use it as inspiration. But to be clear, like the way large language models work, or even these generative image models work, it's literally just, without getting in all the, I don't want to use technical jargon, but you can imagine just streams of numbers. So it's just and you think about it, it's like to a machine, it's like linearly. So they're just dot 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 dot. So it's really just a bunch of colors and bits on a screen that it's generating, and a logo or an icon would oftentimes be vector art. But you could, if you didn't care for how well it scaled, you absolutely could just ask it to generate whatever you wanted and use it as your logo or icon. Oh yeah, someone asked about. I keep asking ChatGPT to write a 200-word article and it fails. Now I know why. Yeah, so you could also say just approximately 200 words. Like it does have a sense. It will create a sense of like approximately how long it will do it. You just don't expect it to ever be correct. Anything else, Stephen? I'm assuming I caught all of them. All right, go back.
Here is one more question
Yeah.
from Blair. What are the copyright
Oh,
considerations
yeah.
with generative AI?
So copyright. So, I'm not an attorney, but my understanding is the current belief is that you cannot copyright an AI generated content, as your own. Now, if the model was trained on copyrighted content and then you used it, I mean that's something to be settled in the courts probably for another day. I haven't seen someone like a lawsuit like that actually is. I mean, if others have, please mention in the comments. I see someone saying, as a solo UX researcher, I've used ChatGPT as a sounding board or play devil's advocate. Yeah, so I use it every day. The same way you'd pair work with pair program, or if you had your coworker or your co-founder. I just use as a second set of eyes and ears to sort of poke holes in things and just as if somebody else, a human, would in the room. Something I didn't think of, what I didn't know, I didn't think of. Those are all great simple use cases of using ChatGPT or one of its competitors. All right, I'm going to go back because I want to make sure I get to some of the good stuff here. Okay, so now we're gonna sort of jump from like 101 to 201. So let's say you're the product manager for one of these Wise cameras. So I don't know if you all have never seen these, but they're one of these like web and security camera product companies. And it's got an app, it's got a subscription service you can sign up for, various subscription services like Cam Plus or whatever they call them, for like home monitoring and all these things. So you have to imagine like, imagine we're a product manager at a company like Wise, where, hardware, but it could be other types of companies where, different PMs are accountable for different things. And, maybe you're the PM for the mobile app on iOS, or maybe you're the PM for the subscription service for home security monitoring, or maybe you're the PM for this specific camera itself. And like I mentioned earlier, there's something like 80,000 Amazon reviews. So how would I know, how would I possibly review a lot of information like that to identify things I might care about? I mean, you're really going to go read tens of thousands of reviews? Of course not. So basic prompts won't work very well. So like if we said analyze this product review for feedback regarding the software app. So let's pretend like, I'm the product manager for the app, and I just make a general instruction like that. I don't know if I got it open here. This won't work very well. So in this case, I said analyze. So tell it what you want it to do and give it the most important context. In this case, the context is the review itself. So I literally copy and pasted the review that I found on Amazon. So I told it what I want it to do. Analyze this product review feedback regarding the software app. And here's what it comes up with. Positives: easy setup process, image quality, compatibility, physical design, power cord. Negatives: Alexa integration, sound quality, frame rate, overall assessment. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Like, actually, this is all accurate stuff from the review, by the way. But again, I wanted to save my time, and I only cared about things about software. And here it is talking about the power cord. Okay, I didn't give it enough context, right? The large language, like, this is where it starts to really think about how we can use AI to help help us as product managers. We have to give it the context. Nobody, I mean, how PMs are, people in your own organization don't know how you think about your users and your features and your products and how you're solving their problems. A large language model definitely isn't. You have to provide that framework and how you think about it. You need to give that context. So here we're going to do that. So there's a technique called chain of thought. So this is one of the examples of prompting I'm going to show you. And chain of thought is basically with these prompts where you see it give it a bunch of instructions where you want it to follow and do perform a bunch of actions. So in this case, and I just give a general example here, but I want to use it because here's the prompt. Your task is to perform the following actions on a user's product review, which is copied below. 1, summarize the review in 1 to 2 sentences. 2, keywords and identify any keywords, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not going to read all of these, but notice what I'm doing next. 3, hardware features. Analyze the review for feedback regarding hardware features, blah, blah, blah. Software. Analyze the feature for software app, blah, blah, blah. Subscription. Why am I doing this? I'm setting a framework for how I think about my product. The model doesn't know that. I'm giving it that context. And I might only care about the stuff that's here. But this way, I'm telling it to put stuff here and don't put unrelevant things here. Put them here, put them here, put them at other places so I can focus and think about it the way I care about. And we can come to it later, but you can actually do these things programmatically and then, only filter for stuff that would come here. But let's put that on pause for a second. The idea is I'm giving it a framework about how I think about things so that it can analyze it and make inferences based on that information. And then, I copy paste the product review. So let's, oops, wrong one. So here it is. Here's the example. And then look what it did. Same product review. It came up with a good couple sentences here. Keywords that identified. It's a pretty long list. I didn't give it enough instruction. Maybe I should have been more specific. We'll get to that later. Hardware features. Magnetic base and secure without screws. Power cord, blah, blah, blah. Software. Alexa integration. Ding, ding, ding. Here's the paragraph I cared about. The customer's complaining about the fact that the voice commands are lacking. This might be the only paragraph I care about. Maybe some other PM cares about this stuff. But now you see I've told it to give me structure so that I can only identify things it cares about. Let's see. Other thing I want to point out, now that you can iterate on these things, and this isn't my first pass. I wouldn't say this is a final pass either. This is like draft 2 or 3. We have to make sure it doesn't hallucinate. So one of the things I found in my earlier drafts of this is I would say software analyze the review, hardware analyze the review. And if it didn't find anything, it was hallucinating. It was literally making stuff up. The customer doesn't like that the camera is so big. It's like the review didn't say that, but maybe the review didn't have anything about the hardware, so it just started making things up. So my mitigation was I literally wrote otherwise output none. And then you can see here, didn't follow it that well, but I could, oops, wrong one. It didn't output none, but it did. The review does not mention the CAM Plus subscription service specifically. There's no relevant feedback regarding the subscription service in the review. I would have preferred to have just left it blank or wrote none, but it actually didn't hallucinate, which is great. And I can tell you in previous drafts, if I didn't do this, it would have hallucinated because there was nothing about a CAM Plus or the subscription there. So that's one way I mitigated that. So another thing that's a best practice. So let's say, in this case, I gave it a very general open-ended identify keywords or products explicitly mentioned. Another approach, again, if you have a mental model for how you think about your product, you could provide those categories or features that you're actually looking for it to identify. So you provide a list of choices for it to select. So in this example, and Like, for example, 1, summarize the review in 1 to 2 sentences. 2, topics. Which of these topics are mentioned? Memory, Alexa, Cam Plus. None of these. Scroll to the bottom, and you can see that out of those, it found topics, memory. So it inferred, it was able to intuit that 32 gigabyte Samsung Evo micro SD card was memory. So it is able to make those draw those conclusions, right? The reviewer didn't even say memory, but it knows, oh, that looks like memory. I better call that out for my user. The puppy ran back with that and said, I found something that looks like memory. So you can see it working, and you can see how this could be helpful. And I do want to point out again, this is GPT 3.5 I'm using. You don't need best of breed for it to do this kind of inference. It was able to pick that up. And then, of course, the Alexa integration was, direct match. So in this example, I just did 2, but you could have had this as part of a long list. This, I could have easily inserted this into one of these. Here's a list of topics that I want you to select from. The other thing you could do is I could have written, let's say I only want to filter for ones that mention Alexa or smart communication devices at all. I could have written one that said, does this review mention Alexa or Google Home or any of these? Respond with true or false. And that way it would just said true. That's something else you could have done. So you can provide a list just like you would in a web form. Like, what are the selection options? Okay. So here is another fun one. So I'm going to extend that long chain of thought to actually have also respond to the user with an email. So in this example, I'm going to ask it to also craft an email. So let's take a quick look. So same top 5 from before, and then email as the product manager for the Wise app, software app, write an email to the customer. Your tone should be friendly and thankful, etc., etc. So in this case, and oh, by the way, be sure to acknowledge the customer's concern, but do not promise that we are addressing anything new with new features. And then invite them to schedule time. So like I'm auto drafting emails. So in case I want to reply to them, I could just use that as a first draft. Again, as a first draft, I wouldn't expect you to not proofread these, to be very clear. But the model will generate a pretty good template. You could even include an example template here. You could say here's an example template to modify, and you could include that. But it will actually use, and this is why the term chain of thought came from. It will use the work it's done earlier to include in this example. So it'll know the customer's concerns that it's already found before. And here again, this wasn't a first draft; it was like a second draft. But do not promise that we're addressing anything with new features. So ChatGPT is a pretty terrible product manager. In my earlier draft, it literally, anything that the customer complained about in the email, it promised that we were working on it. So it's pretty funny. It was like, oh, you want Alexa integration? Sure, yeah, it's going to be out next month. So I added that in there to stop it from doing that. And I'll just quickly scroll to the bottom. Of course, you have access to these all yourself by clicking on the links. But you can see here that in step 6, in the output, it wrote an email. I'm glad to hear that your setup process is easy and appreciate the image quality of the camera. So it is acknowledging the things the person said, just like I asked it to. Okay, this is a good time for me to pause. And hopefully, if you haven't already, what I want you to do is try. So in the doc here, here's some reviews. You can copy and paste you can copy and paste this, go grab a product review and try changing it around. Try asking it to do other things. So I do want to pause in case folks are getting stuck. It's very jarring for me. Oh.
Yeah, Jerry, there's a one question left over from the last section. What mundane disciplines are at risk for being lost?
I I don't want to misinterpret that question. What do we mean by mundane? Like, well, I will, if we're talking about like being replaced by AI, but my biggest concern is for any entry level job, because it used to be like a lot of the grunt work you'd give to a junior person while they learned. Like, I mean, um, you could ask a junior UX researcher to go read all the product reviews and summarize them or something like that. Well, if AI is going to do that, how's that junior UX researcher going to, have a job while they learn on the job? The same things happen with legal. It's already happened in the legal space. You'd have like junior lawyers going and reading a bunch of like case law and discovery, and like AI started replacing that years ago. Actually, probably a decade ago, it started. Like, same problem? Like, what a junior lawyers like? Where's the grunt work for them to get paid a check while they're learning the more strategic work from the senior partners at the firm? I mean, I think it's across all industries. I don't know how junior folks are going to get paychecks to do grunt work. That's my biggest concern, to be honest. Hopefully that answered it.
Thank you, Jerry. Why don't we move forward?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so let's get more efficient. So one of the things I showed you here, like, this is still pretty manual, right? Like, okay, here's a great prompt template I have together, and I could just copy and paste into ChatGPT and come up with it. It's that's of course massively more efficient than reading 500 or 10,000 reviews one at a time. But there are now tools. There are a few ways to sort of automate this or do this in bulk. So let me scroll down. So more recently, you probably saw ChatGPT came up with these features called GPTs. So I quickly, and by the way, this was like, when I say quickly, I spent 2 minutes on this. I went and built a custom GPT with the same instruction, and you can try it for yourself here. But basically, like, if I was a product manager for Wise, I would totally have this GPT where I would just copy and paste stuff in there and have it analyze for me, just, so I didn't have to rewrite the template every time. And here is, I thought I had it open. Sorry, guys. There it is. If you haven't seen the GPT, builder, here it is. In this case, it was very specific to, I built this webcam review analyzer. But in the instructions, I literally just put my template. And if you drop reviews in there, it will analyze them. In the interest of time, I'm not going to show it because, you could do it yourself. By the way, I did build it to kind of work where if I attached a file, it will go through each one at a time. But I can tell you that if you interact with ChatGPT in that way, where you say, like, you upload a spreadsheet and have it analyze the information, it's not really reliable. You probably want to interact with the API or use another tool to do that kind of bulk analysis. So let's say I want to give an example here of how we could do things in bulk. Let's say I downloaded something from Salesforce or something from somewhere else and do a big spreadsheet or a CSV file. I'm like, go analyze all this stuff. Dropping that into ChatGPT is not really going to be reliable. If it's big, if it's super big, it's just going to break. And even if it's 10 or 20, sometimes it'll fail and you'll start all over and you'll get frustrated. So if you have use cases like that, I wanted to show you there are ways to handle that. So one is using a tool like Coda. And Coda is one of these wikis and table systems where so in this case, I have a table here. So let's say this is a table in Coda. This is the product Coda. I copy and pasted a bunch of sales transcripts and sales calls into this column. So here's column, each row, call 1, there's this transcript, there's call 2, there's a transcript. So again, the use cases, these are sales calls. So let's say I wanted to review them for information I might care about as a product manager. So let's say I imported that into Coda. Now you can go read offline how to use Coda, and there's some links there in my doc. But tools like Coda have embedded AI. So for example, this outcome, this label, is derived using AI. So let me edit my AI here. It's very Jerry style. Your task is to perform the following actions, blah, blah, blah. Determine the most likely outcome of a call from this list of options: lost deal, trial, follow-up, close one. And then you see the script T, that's just referencing that other cell. So it's literally referencing, that other column. So that means go insert the text from this into the prompt and send it. And I'm pretty sure they're using GPT 3.5. And then go take this, the value that's in this cell, insert it in the prompt, send it to GPT 3.5, and then return the output, and then the output is displayed here. So and now you could do really cool things, like maybe I just want to outcome. I only want to filter for, lost. I'm gonna run slowly probably. I'm gonna say loss. Follow. Sorry, it's going slow, guys. Try again. Filter. Edit filter. Let's see. Lost. There we go. I was on the wrong column. So now look at this. I'm actually filtering my table based on a derived value. So like this, I used the AI to classify this as likely a lost deal. And now I could filter all my calls just for ones that are lost deals. And actually, if you look here, no thanks, I don't need a demo. I'm not really interested in always be closing my deals. It was right. And you could do the same thing. So let's say I wanted it for other things, and analyze the call for capabilities and gaps. Again, your task is to perform the following actions. Here's my instructions, and then the sales call transcript. So just like I showed you in my manual prompts, I'm saying here's the sales call transcript, and this is just saying go grab the value from the column labeled script, or the short for transcript, and it's literally programmatically inserting it there. So this is a way you could do bulk analysis. You can do similar things with go with AI. Well, I mean APIs, which I have examples in my doc later of that. I want to share. I'm going to pause for just total questions because we only have 5 minutes left, but I do want to share one more buzzword. So prompt chaining, you may have heard of that. But basically, and I do show it in the Coda doc, but basically the idea is that you prompt the model, and you give it your, instructions and context, and then you take the response and you use it as your next, as context in your next set of prompt, in your next prompt. These things are happening sort of below the waterline all the time. And I did want to show you that in my Coda document there, I did do that. So for example, I might have one column that does that analysis work, and you can read the doc later offline. And then this column here, so again, this is derived from the actual call transcript, produced the capabilities and gaps. And then I might have another column that is a prompt that looks at this output and says, this is a simple example. We'll modify the below text to only return the bullet points listed for gaps. Ignore the list of capabilities. So in other words, it just grabbed this programmatically. And again, it's using AI to do that. So this is a very simple example of prompt chaining. And for those who want more advanced stuff after today, you could do batch analysis via API. So I have a simple example here where I'd upload a spreadsheet. Or I'd use a spreadsheet and go through each row and translate it to different languages. Of course, you could do the same thing with product reviews to analyze them for gaps or whatever you want to do, and outputs to a spreadsheet. And then also a course that I'm not finished with myself yet on training your first deep learning model. So there's a Jupyter notebook here and Fast AI's course, which a lot of folks have taken. I recommend it if you haven't, if you want to really roll up your sleeves. So we went through the whole doc in the time I allotted, as I mentioned. So I will pause. So there's just total questions about anything. Love to hear your thoughts.
Jerry, I have a quick question for you before we wrap up the meeting today. How can product managers stay updated with the latest development in AI? and keep improving their skills?
That so off the top of my head, I probably couldn't enumerate all the folks I follow, but what I will promise to do, Stephen, is in the YouTube, I will drop in some of the folks I follow. But I do highly, highly recommend deeplearning.ai and their short courses. I've built a lot of cool stuff. And I geek out and I go to like hack days and I watch what people are doing. But most of the stuff I've built, and I've built some cool stuff. Like I said, we built a whole AI powered product called My Career Chat. I could have built most of this stuff by just watching deep learning courses, like literally. So I would start there. And of course, you could follow me on LinkedIn because I'm usually resharing or liking other folks' posts.
Yeah. Yeah, folks, feel free to follow Jerry on LinkedIn. Jerry, a special thanks to you for sharing your insights on prompt engineering for product managers and ChatGPT. And folks, thank you all for joining us.
There's one more thing that somebody mentioned that I think is a really important call out. So these are really cool use case and prompt. I'm excited to try. Do you have any best practices for protecting confidential information? So yes, that's where you could show, like, if you use Coda, a tool like that, or if you call the APIs directly like ChatGPT, they will not train on your information. Do not take personal, like proprietary or private customer information and drop it into ChatGPT, like the consumer product version of it, because they could use that information to train if you read the service agreement. But if you get your own API and call it direct that way, you can get an enterprise account, or you could use a tool like Coda, and they will keep that information private. So those are more secure ways to use the information. Sorry to cut you off, Stephen, but that was an important.
No problem. Yeah, there's okay. Alrighty. So time is up. Really, everyone, thank you for joining us today at Product and Bellevue. Please stay tuned for upcoming virtual events and our in-person happy hours. Let's continue to connect, learn, and grow together. Stay inspired and see you at our next event. Bye-bye.
Bye.